Recently we've seen a large increase of the number of companies that are focusing on a popular material now called graphite. But with me I have Brad Boyle, who's the CEO and MD of Triton Minerals. Hey Brad,
Hi.
Thanks for coming along.
Thank you.
Now listen, you're a gold explorer originally, weren't you?
That's correct. Back in 2009 when we originally listed on the ASX, we were focused on gold exploration in the Albany-Fraser range in southern Western Australia. We did have some other tenements elsewhere. Unfortunately, they didn't prevail. We had a number of successes, but they didn't actually lead into anything to future development. And over that period, we had to grow and change as the market conditions, and we morphed into a diversified mineral explorer, which led us into the graphite sector.
Now, that's the exciting story right now, and it's only quite recently that you've got involved in graphite, isn't it?
That's correct. It was 2012 that we originally had an option for the graphite tenements over in Mozambique. And it wasn't until April 2013 that we actually got access to that land and were able to start exploring. So it's been a very rapid change since April 2013 to go from a concept to now putting out a maiden resource in February 2014 to now looking at a potential target of over 1 billion tonnes at Nakanda.
Wow, so I did see that your most recent release, you've just finished a diamond core program up there.
Correct.
And you've got 300 metre intercept.
Yep, down one hole.
With a bottomless, with an unknown prospect on the other side.
Yeah, well that's the exciting part. We don't know how far it goes, and that's drilling in a west-east direction. Potential, the down dip is heading off to the northwest, which could potentially go far deeper. So the program will give us a bit more information as we progress throughout the year. We're going to try and drill the majority of the prospect of Nakanda to give us an understanding of where the mineralisation is and how far it goes.
So you've got a sizable project here. Now we're talking large tonnage. How do you fit that into a global scale with other deposits of this nature?
Look, the biggest problem that the graphite sector has faced is finding decent quality graphite that can be economic. There is a number of projects globally that fit into the category of finding decent grades or large flake or a combination thereof, but the economics aren't really going to stack up in their favour because they've got a number of big hurdles, which all mining operations do. And one of the key ones that attracted us to Mozambique was the infrastructure that was already in play. We have a deep water port at Pemba, we have an international airport at Pemba, and a large bitumen highway that goes all the way out to Montepuez, which is about 200 kilometres from the coast of Mozambique. Now, a lot of projects, whether it's in Australia, in northern Canada, or even up in around the Switzerland in the ice areas, up there in the Arctic areas, it's difficult because you don't have major roads, rail, or port facilities that you can get into, and then you combine that with the weather conditions, especially in the northern sectors, and it's difficult.
You have 360 days of sunny weather all in Mozambique.
We do have a wet season in Mozambique because it is the subtropic and into the tropic area, but you can still do quite a lot of work. Even though it's raining, you can still work on decent roads, you can still dig it up.
So the infrastructure is in place and politically stable environment as well.
It has been for about 30 years, yeah.
So what combination of amorphous versus coarse flake? Now for people that don't know, amorphous is what you'd use in lead pencils and coating steel bins in furnaces, and battery cases and what have you. So in terms of product, once you've got an inferred resource, I guess you'll be going to market with a kind of a product. What balance of amorphous versus flake would you have? Well,
at this stage, predominantly it appears to be flake material. We have a combination of large flake, which is above the 170, about the 170 microns is considered large flake. Between the 170 micron to about 100 micron is considered medium flake, and anything below the 100 micron is considered fine. And predominantly our project consists of a small portion of large, a bulk of it appears to be medium, and then we have fine flake in there as well. So we have a cross section of flake material, which is interesting in the fact that it can be actually used for a number of sectors. Whether it be industrial or for technology.
So you're sitting on the border there between flake and amorphous, so you can go both ways.
Yeah, and look, a lot of end users in the graphite sector even grind down the flake graphite. The question really comes down to quality. If you can have that purity of 94 to 97%, you don't have issues with impurities of iron, silica and other impurities that can impact on their use. They grind it down to a very fine level, then they mix it into whatever the material they want to use it in and create an alloy. And if you have too many impurities, it impacts on the capability of that alloy and whether or not it's effective.
So you've got 8 tenements now in that area.
Correct. We've still got 3 under application and 5 granted. We've got a land holding of about 1,150 square kilometres. It's about 10 times the size of our neighbour. So it gives us a lot more opportunity for, I suppose, finding other potential, resources in Ankawabi, Balama South and Balama North. We believe Balama North has the potential to host multiple deposits of high-grade graphite.
So looking forward, in the short term, you've got a scoping study for completion this quarter?
Correct. That's due to finish in the next couple of weeks. Look, it's a very refined scoping study, and it's just a quick, I suppose, more of a back of an envelope sort of numbers so that we can understand what the basic economics are going to be and what sort of level we need to make it economic. And there's no point spending lots of money developing a project if the economics don't stack up. The underlying fundamentals have to be there first. And we want to de-risk the project a bit before we can take the next fundamental steps going forward. And
so you'll have an inferred resource right at the beginning of next year?
That's the aim, yeah. We're hoping to put out an inferred resource early next year. We're going to be drilling until November this year, so if all going well and the drill program doesn't have any hiccups, then we hope to put out an inferred resource, and we'll be aiming to be number 2 or maybe even pushing for number 1 in the world.
Yeah, well, it's judging by that share price performance, I think for a long time you're hovering around the 10-cent mark.
Correct.
And then the last month with these releases that are coming out regarding this deposit, you've jumped 4 times in market cap.
Look, very surprising, but in some ways it's not, because the reality is I think the market's starting to recognise the true potential of the Balama North project. It doesn't take into account the other potential projects that we have, but I think the re-rating was overdue in some ways, and it's really nice to see that market recognition because we start to show some real numbers. When you're talking about a 300 metre downhole mineralisation, and we've now demonstrated that the width of the mineralisation zone at Nakanda Hill is 750 metres across.
Amazing.
And we've also demonstrated long strike of about nearly 2 kilometres. Then you're talking some very large numbers when it comes to potential resource. Now, if we can demonstrate that mineralisation that goes for that 5.5, 6 kilometres long, then they're massive numbers. And our exploration targets could even be quite conservative in the long run.
Brad Boyle, MD and CEO for Triton Minerals, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Stay tuned, ASX TON on the stock exchange. Watch Triton Minerals, and thank you for watching.